What's up guys, Cody here for another video. We're going to look at the Toyota Solara. More specifically, we're going to be doing some maintenance on it. We're going to just change the oil, give it a look over on what's needed. I think I've mentioned before on this channel, this is my daily driver. This is a 2002 Toyota Solara SLE V6. Arguably, this is one of the least popular Toyotas that was made in the last 20 years, which is honestly sad because of how reliable these vehicles have actually been, specifically this V6 engine that's in here. These V6s are in many vehicles within the Toyota Lexus lineup. They were notorious for sludge, but the quick remedy for that is change the oil very frequently and use good oil for that to prevent that from happening. But what I'm going to do in this video is just give you an overview of what a 240,000+ mile Toyota Solara looks like, and just explain why I've enjoyed this being my daily driver. And my apologies, guys. I know the video may have been a little shaky in that intro. I was holding the phone as I was talking, working on trying to get a more handheld friendly tripod that can hold my phone. But as I've mentioned before, this is a 2002 Toyota Solara. This is my daily driver. I drive this to and from work commuting every day. And this car has held up quite well given its age. I'm not going to say it's been perfect, but I would say any car that is used on a daily basis for many miles, specifically this one has 240, it's going to show its age a little bit. You know, there's going to be some creaks and there's going to be some seals that don't quite seal up as good as they do, and there's going to be some leaks that develop, and it's kind of part of owning an old vehicle. But what I wanted to do is just take the time to kind of give this car a once-over and then kind of give you guys my thoughts on it. So one thing I'm going to show you in this video is some of the unique features about this car, which I think is pretty cool. And then if there's any interest in this video, I'll look and see how the views do. I may do a full overview of this car. I think it'd be a really neat video to talk about this, because this car, in my opinion, doesn't quite get the recognition it deserves, unfortunately. I think the Camry overshadows it a bit, at least here in the US. But these are really neat cars. It was really a kind of a bold development for Toyota, especially at the time. But overall, I mean, they made a really good car. So, as I mentioned, the car is not perfect by any means. It is old, and so, you know, things are going to start just showing their age. So just this year alone, in 2022, I've had to replace both battery terminals, because unfortunately, they had corroded themselves onto the prior battery's terminals. In addition to that, months later, the alternator did die. Quite impressive, though, given the fact that the unit that was on here was the OE unit from Toyota over 20 years ago. And it had almost the entire 240,000 miles on that alternator. So quite impressive. For those of you asking, or those of you that will ask, no, I did not go with another Denso unit, as it was quite expensive. Frankly, given the age of the car, not knowing the future of it, particularly the trans, things like that, I didn't want to go overboard with the part. So what I did do is I bought a reputable reman unit from AutoZone that carries a lifetime warranty. So while it may fail at some point and provide me an inconvenience, I at least have the peace of mind for the remainder of my ownership of this vehicle that it is actually covered under warranty, which is a positive. But outside of that, everything else that's pretty much gone wrong thus far is things that I would consider just routine maintenance, honestly. In the time we've owned this vehicle, I've done two timing belts, one water pump, one thermostat. I've changed both rear wheel bearings out, and I've done more brake changes than I can count. As you can see, the wheels are quite dusty right now. It's actually not due for a brake change. It's just the brakes I have on here are very dusty. If you go back through some of my videos, the brakes that are currently on this vehicle are the Power Stop brakes. I believe it's the Power Stop brakes. It's just a very economical kit that Rock Auto sells that comes with both the pads and the rotors, which I thought was pretty cool for the price of all 4 sets of pads and all 4 rotors. It was less than your average like big box part store pad offering. If you were to get pads for the front and rear, it basically was more affordable than doing that route. So quite impressive. We've got our shop pup walking around inspecting the garage. But yeah, and then the last but not least, we did have, while I was doing the timing belts both times, we did change out the valve cover gaskets, spark plugs. More recently, as of last year, one of the items that unfortunately had to be replaced was the knock sensors, and they're buried well within the engine. Not a fun job by any means, but again, with the amount of mileage on this vehicle, it was to be expected. In addition to the knock sensors failing, I don't know if the two were, tied in together or if it was just sheer coincidence, but I did end up having to replace both my O2 sensors in the front and in the back because I kept getting a check engine light for both of those sensors, unfortunately. Rather easy job. I picked up the socket from Harbor Freight, the oxygen sensor socket. At the time, Amazon had Denso sensors for a really good price. I mean, it was unbeatable, frankly, for 2 new sensors. It was just a no-brainer. But outside of that, I'd say tires, they've been replaced. Oh, and then more recently, I did buy new struts for the hood. You can look back on some of my other videos that I've done on this car, changing the struts and things like that when I've done that as well. Changing the wheel struts, I should say, in that video. You may notice a vice grip holding the hood open. I got really tired of that, so I did finally replace the struts because I did want the hood to be able to support itself. But overall, really impressed with the vehicle. This is just my overall thoughts of what it's been like owning this vehicle, and just some of the maintenance that I've incurred throughout my ownership of this car. It's been in the family now for pretty much its whole life. So someone in the family has owned this car at some point since it was brand new, which is pretty cool. We've owned it for the last 15 plus years, which is awesome. So I can say this is definitely an underrated car. I think many people, they really underestimate or undervalue having an affordable daily driver, frankly. You may see in the video I have an E30 over here, which we'll do a video on later. I would not drive that car every day. Trust me, it's over 30 years old. Things break on it all the time. It's not something I would recommend anyone daily. You could certainly do it, and people that have shorter commutes may even entertain it. But for me, old Toyota gets the job done. But that's my overall thoughts of owning this car and it having over 240,000 miles. Murphy's Law will probably kick in and the whole car will break because I've created the video bragging on it. Just kidding. But this is my impressions of the car. And like I said, depending on the engagement I get on this video, I may do a full feature video of this car, just showing some of the unique quirks of it. One of the unique quirks that I will go ahead and highlight just for the sake of the video is if you look up here, there's no antenna, which I always thought was really cool. If you come to the back in the panel, there's no antenna. On the trunk, on the roof, there's no antenna. It's a pretty futuristic design given the fact that this car did come out in 2002. So the technology it has for the antenna is quite impressive and frankly way ahead of its time. It just goes into some of the really cool engineering that Toyota brought to this car. At the end of the day, this car was marketed as a sports car. Front-wheel drive sports car, albeit, but that's kind of what it was marketed as when it was brand new. But yeah, really cool car. I honestly think more people should check them out. I'm not quite sure on how many they ended up building, but I know they did make them from, at least this body style, they made from 99 to, I believe, 2004, maybe 2003. Somebody will correct me in the comments, I'm sure. But again, really good car. I think it's underrated in my opinion. I wish more people thought better of them. Honestly, it would help boost the values of these. But for those of you that can pick them up really cheap, I think it's definitely a good contender for you as far as a reliable daily driver goes. But thanks guys for watching. And like I said, depending on what you guys think of this video, if you're interested in seeing a full-length video of this vehicle, you know, front to back, interior, all the neat features that this car had, I'm happy to do that. But just let me know in the comments. Thanks.